the goal was about driving, and I'm sure you had a lot of driving opportunities since then.
A little
So
bit.
how has it been going
It's
with
been going well.
your driving and with
Been
your
going,
procrastination?
yeah, been going very well. Yeah. Definitely a lot less aggressive and angry.
Okay. So what else has been happening? This is what I usually ask people when we restart a session. So even though it was a while, it's always good to know what were the highlights or landmarks or, some things that will be worth bringing up.
In what sense?
In everything. What has been happening in your life? Just give me a brief outline. Or,
Oh,
since
gosh.
October.
Yeah, been doing a lot, been recording a lot of videos, getting ready to really push what I'm doing. I got a bunch of new coaches that I'm currently working with, getting a lot of videos in and expanding what I'm doing in the Facebook to try to go after a larger crowd.
So tell me more about that. What are you expanding? What are you going after?
Yeah, so I'm doing, there's a specific website you can go to, and what you do is you put in like 1 or 2 keywords for whatever, like, so, let's just say your business is human design, and you punch in human design, and then it gives you a chart of what the most frequently asked questions on Google. So like, what is human design? It has like a bunch of sections. It breaks them down, like what, who, where, when, why. And it gives you the most popular and frequently asked questions. And then I can do that. I can just grab the top 2 questions out of every category and answer them all during a video. So if someone comes up, I can, post it and it'll be very informative. So I've been doing things like that. I created a couple of meditations. I'm doing a bunch of different categories. And then one big thing I did was switch over my personal profile. So I no longer have a personal Facebook page. It's now my creator page. So gathering stuff and pulling and filtering people into there. And I've been working with a lot of coaches, and I have a lot of kind of human success stories that I'm working on as well. So this is going to be
with coaches. You mean people who are working for you, or you are training with those coaches, getting their training?
It's similar to what I'm doing with you, right? So a sample of the program, I get a lot of referrals, and I go through and I vet them out to make sure that they have a program that's worthy of people spending their money. Because, the more I do this, the more I find that there's a lot of people with a lot of snake oil, and it is, I've already filtered out, I filtered out 4 people, and they just, they were not pretty, right? So I was like, hey, how's it going? I'd like to talk to you about an interview, whatever. And we start talking, and it's all smiles and happy and cheery. And then I find out from some other people that they're kind of doing some shady stuff. So I confront them about it. And I'm like, well, I'm not aggressive about it, but I'm like, I heard that this was a complication in your course. And they immediately defensive and just attacking. And then I'm like, oh my God. And it's just been a huge deal. I've already vetted out quite a few, which is really what this was all about, right? I'm doing my due diligence and making sure good quality people make it through, because that's what I want. That's who I want to shine. So.
Okay, good. So just to kind of refresh my memory about what you want to do is like have a hub of different types of programs that people come to learn different things.
Right. Yeah. So, when I began my journey, it was tough, because, you go through all these changes, all my spiritual awakening, and I just had a thirst to find out like all these different things that are available, but I had no idea where to go. I had no idea what anything was really. Like, for instance, I've had 2 human design readings. The first girl did it by the book. She gave me a reading, and it was by the book. Like, she literally just held a book and read out the pages to me, essentially. And then the second one that I had, she was like, this is a very take it or leave it type thing. If it doesn't really resonate, don't hold on to it. And she like walked me through, and she like put her effort and time into it and made it applicable to my life. And I ended up getting rid of the first HD lady. So, you know, anytime I do recording, I ask for a photo release before I post it, you know, just saying it releases liability from the both of us, right? So we both agree on the video, etc. And then if I end up making money down the road, it protects me. So she just started yelling. She's like, I've never done that before. And this is blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no problem. Like, whatever. I was on the cusp with her anyway. And that was the final straw. So I just pulled her videos off. No problem. No skin off my back. So yeah, I know that the human design lady that I really like, I've endorsed her quite a bit. And I know she's gotten 2 people from my website. And I don't even have that many people that are subscribed yet. So I'm really excited of where this can go.
Okay, let's find out whether we, you know, how to go back, whether we need to go back to the goal about driving, because maybe since you are so much calmer, maybe it's already done, but we'll find out. So we start with the 2 exercises that everybody does in the beginning. So self-hug.
Okay. And it's like this.
Yes. And bring your elbows, rest your hands on your chest, cross your ankles.
Okay.
Does that hurt?
My knuckles.
Oh, wow.
It's okay. No, it's just the angle. It's all good.
Yeah, maybe you can hold it a little bit higher so it's a little less stress on your wrist.
Try to do it again. Better. That's better.
Okay. So close your eyes for a moment, gently touch the tongue behind the upper teeth, and let's just sit like that for a minute or so. All right, we can uncross. So uncross your feet, put them down, touch your fingertips together. You rest them on your lap. And again, close your eyes for a moment. All right, you can stop that. Let's do cross crawl. So this is the one we do standing up, and you touch your hand to the opposite knee.
Okay.
And then we do a few to the back. So you touch your heel behind your back.
Okay, like this?
Yes. And then we need to do side to side. So you start with your arms and legs together, and then you bring your leg out to the side and the opposite arm to the side.
Okay. Like
and
that?
then bring them to the center and do the other side. This doesn't look so good on the video.
It's okay.
Maybe you'll need to.
They can see me.
Okay. So then you can sit down.
All right.
And I'm going to do muscle testing. So I'm first testing myself.
Okay.
And I'm okay. So I'm in balance. Let's get back to yes or no and see if I can surrogate for you. Are we clear? Let's get back to yes and no. Can we go back to surrogating for Brent? So now I'm testing you, testing Brent. So water, you need to drink some water. I guess I'll drink some water. So we test that again. Now it's switched on. We balance the central meridian, which we balance with self-hug. Let's see if that's balanced. That's balanced. It should switch off going down. It should switch on going up. That's what it does. Then I'm testing for the master energy switches, which is fine. And this is for cross crawl. So we need to do some more. So let's see what changes the response to strong. So when I hold this point, it switches off the muscle response, which means that this point indicates whether you need cross crawl or not. So let's see which direction will make it strong. Front, no. Back, no. Side to side. So you need to do a little bit more of that side to side movement. Okay, go ahead and do that.
Okay. And it's this one, right?
Yes. All right, we check whether that was enough. So that shows up as switched on. So the preparation is balanced. Okay, so let's get back to yes or no. Let's have a yes, let's have a no. The system is ready to resume balancing for the goal of being calm and composed while driving. The answer is yes, so we need to continue to do that. So then we review the situation by having you say your goal. So say, I'm calm and composed while I'm driving.
I'm calm and composed with driving.
So the muscle response is much stronger compared to it was in the beginning, but it's a little bit switched off. So we need to do some more balancing. And the emotional issue that we also need to check is I release escaping from myself through distractions and activities. So say that.
Oh, you want, okay. So I'm sorry, I release
escaping from myself
escaping from myself
through distractions and activities.
Through distractions and activities.
So again, that's stronger, but not completely strong. So did you notice a difference so far in how this is going? Are you less distracted and more focused on what's important to you or what you want to do?
Yeah, in some aspects, I've noticed that I go through like longer waves of it. So, you know, like last week I was very, very, very productive. But this week, or what, I'm sorry, I guess it was 2 weeks ago, I was very, very, and then last week I wasn't so much. I was a little less off work and more on different things, kind of like it almost felt like a recharge phase. I read a lot, I did some meditations, I played some piano, so I was like less productive, but it was like kind of, it felt like a rest, if that makes sense.
You know, it's not necessarily about being productive, but not being distracted. So if you need the time to recharge, that's fine. It's not a distraction. Distraction is when you want to do work, but you constantly go to do other things.
Yeah, it's definitely gotten better. I would say it's definitely gotten better. I mean, it's definitely not 100%, but.
Okay. So the system is now ready, willing, and able to resume balancing for the goal. The answer is yes. And then I go down the list of different activities that we can do. And see which one changes the response. So we are working with a muscle response, not in a yes or no mode, but making an agreement with your inner intelligence that is going to show us what we need to work on by changing the muscle response.
Okay.
So there's really no way to do that in a way that looks good on video, I think. So I'm going down the list of different techniques. So we need to balance brain function. One of my colleagues identified 9 brain functions that are fundamental. When we started, I asked you, how was your driving during this whole time when we did not work? How was it?
It's good. It's definitely a lot better. There's still, certain things that happen. People do dumb things, but my reaction has changed for sure.
When we restart the goal, I write CD, which is my abbreviation for continue, and then a short version of the goal, which is calm while driving. So then we need to, since we identified it was going to be a brain function, let's find out which brain function you need to work on. So I'm going down the list and see which one changes the response. Reticular activating system, that doesn't. Ability to trust, that doesn't. Respondability, that doesn't. Brain reward pathways, and that does. So I'm putting that in short-term memory by brushing up on my forehead. So when we work on more than one component at a time, we use brushing on different, the most frequently up on the forehead, but actually it works on other parts of the body as well, just to help the body remember what we are working on, so we can add different components. So in this situation, we have 3, and let's see what we need to work on. So the reward pathways are the underpinning of both motivation, habits, and addictions. So every time you have an intense experience, it creates a certain pathway that gets, and that then will motivate you to do more of the same thing. So if you go for a run, it feels good. You have created a pathway that will remind you, hey, this feels good, let's go running. But if you take a drug, it makes you feel good. You have created a pathway that will remind you, hey, let's take drugs because it makes me feel good. So the brain reward pathways are not related to content. They are just related to either intense or repeated experiences. And then you process information using the existing pathways. When that comes up to be balanced, that means that your current pathways are not doing the job. And we have 2 other components to identify in what way. And we need to create either revise those pathways. In other words, your inner intelligence will revise those pathways, or we will create new pathways for something else. So how does that sound so far?
Yeah, that sounds good. Now I'm curious, I don't know if you know this off the top of your head, but I had a traumatic brain injury coming out of the Marine Corps. So I'm guessing like there's a lot of, because I still recognize that I have symptoms of the traumatic brain injury. So I wonder how much that affected my neural pathways and how things are interpreted and how things are handled.
So let's find out whether that will come up to be balanced. But typically, the research has shown that trauma does alter brain pathways. So we have identified brain reward pathways as something that needs to be balanced. And brain reward pathways are a way that we code our experience. And when you have either intense or repeated experience, it creates certain brain pathways. In brain pathways do not relate to the content of your experience. They just get created because things are either intense or repeated. So if someone goes for a run and that feels good, they then have brain pathways that will motivate them to go more running more often. There will be like an internal reminder, hey, this feels good, let's go running. But if you take a drug, it makes you feel good, then you have created a pathway that will say, hey, let's take more drugs because that feels good. So that's what I mean, that brain pathways do not respond to the content, they respond to the effect. That's the effect the repeated or intense experience creates a pathway. So when brain reward pathways come up to be balanced, it's your inner intelligence saying that your current brain pathways are not doing the job, or they're not efficient or effective anymore. And we need to either modify them or we need to create new ones. We'll find that out because there are two more components about we are about to find out what it's going to be about. But this is just the overall picture about what brain pathways are and how they work. So how does that sound to you?
Yeah, that sounds good. So I do have one question. So let's just say we do the run, right? And it creates that pathway saying running feels good. Now, let's just say we run home, we rest, and then we do drugs. Do the drugs overlap and destroy the pathway for running?
That's a little bit too theoretical for me. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think that
Okay.
anybody has done an experiment like that. But I think just going by what I know about brain pathways, that it probably depends on which experience is stronger.
Okay. Okay. No, I was just curious because like
Yeah.
as it relates to my traumatic brain injury, I had a bunch of pathways and it was like, let's just say we have pathways that run like this and the traumatic brain injury cuts them all off. They cuts all of them off, right? So all my pathways are just now.
Well, the traumatic brain injury created its own pathways. So this is where your previous reactions of rage were coming from, because somehow your brain decided that that will be a good experience or release of something. So now those pathways are not as active because you say that you are now much calmer when you're driving. So we'll find out what specifically we need to work on. But going back to your traumatic brain injury, that trauma of any kind definitely modifies or changes brain pathways. And as I was just telling you, one of my clients just came back from a conference on effect of trauma on the brain and behavior. And she was very relieved to find out that her behaviors were normal as a result of the trauma. So her self-doubt, indecision, and reaction of fear in many situations were predictable, normal reactions to the type of trauma that she had had. So we've been working on that. So we have modified those reactions quite a bit, but nevertheless, she felt that it was a good validation to understand that those traumatic experiences did create certain types of behavior, which were normal and were to be expected.
Yeah.
So probably similar in your case, when you have this kind of injury like you did, it creates certain behaviors that were also predictable. But because we have now these wonderful tools, we can modify all of that, and we can, talking to your inner intelligence, we can find out what your inner intelligence considers to be more beneficial, and what do we need to do with these brain pathways.
Yeah.
So now let's find out what is the next element we need to work with that will create either new pathways or will modify the existing pathways. So we have a switched off response in short-term memory. And there are four things we can balance together with that. So let's see what changes the response to strong. Neurology, learned helplessness, timeline, inner quality. So we need to identify the inner quality is what comes up most often. And that means that you need to activate more or access more something from within. So either it's a actual quality, like sometimes people worked on leadership, sometimes it's a behavior or taking action or way of thinking. So it could actually be anything. And the way we find out what is the right thing for you to work on at this time is because the response will change to strong when you name the thing that you'd like to work on. So let's do self-hug again.
Okay. And to be clear, when your leg gave out, that's what you were looking for. That's what you wanted to happen in that case?
No, it's actually the opposite. So there are several different ways of working with the muscle response. Very many people think that yes or no responses are normal, or they are somehow given, or like your body knows what it is. My interpretation is quite different. So we make an agreement with the inner intelligence what kind of response we are looking for. So in the beginning, we were looking for yes and no. So yes was strong, no was weak. And this is an agreement we made with the inner intelligence. But sometimes it's not good or not as accurate to have yes and no responses when we are looking for a particular technique to use. So we use a different mechanism, which is we ask for a change of response for the thing that we need to work on. So in our situation right now, the muscle response changed or became weak when I identified that we need to work on brain functions. So then we went through the brain functions, and the one that changed the response to weak was the signal that we need to work on that. It doesn't mean anything other than that was the agreement that we had in that moment. So
Okay.
I'll explain further, but let's find out whether this makes sense so far.
Okay. Yeah.
So you understand that?
Yeah.
So because we have more than one thing to work on, we need to have some mechanism to remember on a mental and physical level what we are working on. That's why I locked the switched off response in short-term memory by brushing up on the forehead. So now we have a switched off response in short-term memory. And to identify what we actually need to work on is change a response in the opposite direction. So we altered the way what the response we are looking for.
Yeah.
So we have
So you were looking for the leg to go down.
No, I'm looking for the leg to go up because that go down is already locked in short-term memory. So we have a switched off response as a memory of working on brain reward pathways. In order to find out what we need to work on together with that, or what the pathways need to be for, I need to have a change of response in the opposite direction, which is make it strong.
Gotcha.
So that's why when I list those things and they are switched off, it's a signal that that's not what we need to work on.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
That makes sense.
So chirology, that doesn't change the response.
Right.
Learn helplessness, that doesn't change the response. And timeline, that doesn't change the response. Inner quality, and that does change the response. So we now have we've identified that we need to work on something from within you, inner quality, and to find out which one it will be when you go through ideas about what kind of qualities you want to strengthen within yourself, the response will be strong to confirm that that's the one we need to work on.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Yeah.
So what do you think will be the quality from within that you'd like to activate more or have more access to make further progress to be calm while driving?
Oh, while driving. Oh.
Or you can start in general as well, because I'm sure all of that will apply to driving anyway.
I'd have to say like patience, like self-patience.
So patience with yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see if that changes the response. So patience with self, that doesn't change the response. Patience with others, that doesn't change the response. So that's not the right thing to do.
Well, that's tough.
That's why I like to do self-hug, because it makes it easier to come up with insights. So what bothers you? What bothers you about driving or people's behavior while you're driving? Or what causes you to be impatient, driving or other situations?
It's kind of like majority of the people on the road are very predictable, right?
Mm-hmm.
You predict whether they're going to change a lane or do something dumb, but then there's like another group of people that are very unpredictable,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard to judge what they're going to do. And in any
So
given
then what
instance,
happens?
yeah, it's like that's what will really be the trigger. Like multiple times I've been in a 2-lane road, and I'll have someone on the left of me, and they're like where my front bumper is, their back bumper is, so they're not too far in front of me, but then they'll just try to make a right turn from the left lane, so they'll cut across me to make the right turn, and like I have to like slam on the brakes, and that's like that unpredictable behavior, right? And it's like that's where I get lost and I get upset, because it's like, if he turned his blinker on, or
Mm-hmm.
something like that, it's not a predictable behavior.
Okay. So the quality to work on is dealing with drivers' unpredictable behavior. That changes the response to strong. So how would you like to deal with it? What will help you in that situation? How would you like to behave?
I was just going to say that having the increased level of awareness of what's going on, and
So increased level of awareness, that doesn't change the response. So
yeah,
if you
I
had
don't,
that increased, if you had the increased level of awareness, what will you be doing differently?
you know, maybe just like backing off of cars and giving them more space. So if they're going to do something stupid, then
Mhm.
they'll have the space to do it for themselves.
Okay, so driving, giving cars more space while driving, so the system has time to deal with people's unpredictable behavior. Okay, good. That sounds good. So we have a strong response. I'm locking that in short-term memory. So we have a strong response. Now let me write it down. Good. So what happens now when you deal with unpredictable behavior? How does that affect you? And what what is your reaction? And do you give people enough room? Do you give cars enough room?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, having that extra space allows them to be stupid on their own terms, and I don't have to get involved.
No, I mean, that would be in the future. That'll be great. We'll check that in a moment. But currently, when you deal with people unpredictable behavior, what is the situation? How much room do you have, and how calm do you stay?
I think that's situationally, if they almost hit me, or that might warrant heightened feelings.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so if they almost hit me, what do you describe as heightened feelings?
Um,
You can
getting
you can say something very specific, like I lose my temper, I get scared, like what actually happens.
Yeah, the situation varies, but yeah, both of those things can ring very true. And
Mm-hmm.
the level of anger is definitely subdued. Like I said, I guess it just depends on what they do, right? Like if they do that left hand turn from the or right hand
Mm-hmm.
turn from the left hand side of the lane, being scared and is probably going to be the first reaction, and then anger is probably going to set in after that if they don't hit me.
Right. So I more or less wrote that down, that
Yeah.
if they almost hit me, I get scared or lose my temper,
Yeah.
right? So we'll measure that after we balance that. So the thing that brings this into balance is a specific emotional issue. As before, I'm going to go through the charts, but the charts have named. There is a series of maybe 10 or 12 charts, but to save you and our viewers from excessive information, I'm just going to muscle test them quietly, and I'll tell you which one changes the response. So again, we now have a switched on response or strong response in short-term memory. So when I go through the list of charts, one of them will make the response go down.
Okay.
Mhm. So it changes on the chart called Enneagram. That chart has 10 divisions. So let's see which one will change the response. So 1 through 4, 5 to 8, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we need to look at chart number 8. So Enneagram 8, it has left side and the right side. So change of response, left side, right side. We have 12 statements on the right side, and I'm going to go through the numbers and see which one changes the response. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It changes on 10. I am a master of myself and my own passions.
Mm.
Okay, so say that.
I am a master of myself and my passions.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes. So right now it's switched off. So right now we are in a yes or no mode and the response is switched off. That means that your inner intelligence doesn't agree that you are there, but it wants you to be there. That's why it comes up to be balanced.
Okay.
So to what degree do you feel you are a master of yourself and your passions?
Good question. I feel like my passions always change. So,
But not the passions in a positive way. It's more like your temperament.
mm,
Or your reactions. So let's call it master of myself and my reactions.
yeah, I guess it, man, that's a tough question to answer.
It's not that tough. You can evaluate in general, out 10 out of 10 would be you are a complete master. 0 would be you're not a master at all. So you're probably somewhere in between, maybe in half of the situation you can master your reaction and half of them you can't, or maybe it's 70%. So you can just generally look at your experience, how you work with yourself, especially when you are driving and also in other situations, and generally evaluate to what degree you are a master of yourself and your reactions.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong
Yeah,
with, we start out in an out of balance state. So obviously the sentence is out of balance at the moment. It's good to know to what degree. So then we can measure to what degree it has improved.
yeah, I'd say 70 sounds about right.
Okay. So it's a 7 on the scale from 0 to 10. So now the way we balance this, so let's get a yes or no answer. Does the system need to balance the way we balance brain functions? So the way we balance brain functions is you hold forehead and the back of your head for emotional stress release. So go ahead and do that. And you're going to look in different eye positions. I'm going to tell you where to look. And you're going to say this sentence and follow it with a deep breath. So I'll guide you through that whole process. So look up to the ceiling and say, I'm a master of myself and my reactions.
I'm a master of myself and reaction.
And take a deep breath, slowly exhale. And then look up to your upper right and say it again. I'm a master of myself and my reactions. If you're finished, take a deep breath and move your eyes after you finish exhaling, move your eyes to your sideways right. And say it again.
I'm a master of myself and my reactions.
Take a deep breath, slowly exhale. Then look to your lower right and say it again.
I'm a master of myself and my reactions.
And deep breath, slowly exhale. Look all the way down to the floor. Say it again.
I'm a master of myself and my reactions.
And take a deep breath. And then move your eyes to your lower left.
I am a master of myself and my reactions.
And take a deep breath. Slowly exhale. Sideways left.
I am a master of myself and my reactions.
Upper left.
I am a master of myself and my reactions.
So since you released that, take a break, because we'll do it again going to the left.
Okay.
And you can take a break
Oh.
anytime. Just let me know
Going
when
this
you
way?
want. Yes.
Okay.
Whew.
All right. I'm a master of myself and my reactions. 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 I'm a master of myself and my reaction. Oh my God.
Okay. Yeah, you can take a break, and then we have 3 more positions to go through. So take
Oh.
as much time as you need to rest.
My God. Well, I haven't used these in a while. Woo.
Who knew that this is an upper body workout?
Right. Yeah, I remember when I tore my rotator cuffs, I used to do an exercise called the Power 100. And man, it feels like I did a set of that. And it was
Wow.
on fire. Woo.
Wow.
Yeah. All right. Let's
So just
go.
3 more positions. Okay. So go back to holding.
The head.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can change hands, as matter. So go to your upper right.
Okay.
And repeat that. So the sentence and a deep breath.
In my reactions.
Good. Then look up to the ceiling.
I'm a master of myself and my reactions.
Good. And one more time, looking straight ahead.
I'm the master of myself and my reactions.
And deep breath. Good. You can let it go. So now we test that. So say that sentence and let's see if it's switched on. If the muscle response is strong, that means that it's integrated. If it's not switched on, we'll need to do it again. Okay, so
I think it's done. I'm
very
a master
possibly.
of myself and my
Okay.
reactions.
So say it again.
I'm a master of myself and my reactions.
Good, that's switched on.
Whew.
All right. So when you envision yourself driving, how are you going to respond?
Well, I mean, more space. That'll definitely alleviate the situation.
Mm-hmm. So I'm writing you down. Okay. So now we had all of that in short-term memory. So I'm erasing that circuit by brushing down. Brain reward pathways. That stays switched on, which means brain pathways are balanced. Giving drivers more room so the system can more time to deal with the unpredictable behavior. And that's balanced. So now you say that in the first person. I give drivers more room so I have more time to deal with unpredictable behavior.
I give drivers more rooms, and that allows me to have
More time
more time
to deal
for
with unpredictable behavior.
deal with unpredictable behavior.
Good, that's switched on. So that means that your new behavior is integrated on a body level. So when you envision this situation like what you were describing, that someone from the left lane is cutting you off with your new situation, the way you handle that, how do you see that? How do you see yourself?
Well, I kind of see myself just almost like a little "I told you so," right?
Can you make it more specific? I'm fully getting what you mean.
Yeah, like when I give them the space and then they do something unpredictable,
Hmm.
it's kind of like yeah, I kind of knew something unpredictable was going to happen, and that's why I give them the space, right?
Okay,
That make
good.
more sense?
So when you think about that situation, do you see yourself getting scared, or do you think you have much less of a reaction because now you have more space or more time to respond?
Well, depending on what happens, still a level of scared, but not the aftermath of, anger. Let's not use scared, let's use worried instead.
Okay, so I may still get worried, but I won't get angry.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is how we change behavior. You just, of course, it will take time to integrate, and then later on we'll check how that actually looks in your experience. But just because you can describe a new way of dealing with this situation, and that you will be worried and not quite so scared, and also you will not get angry afterwards because you are giving them space to keep yourself out of danger. So that's how we change behavior. You just described how you're going to behave with this new set of skills.
Right.
And you will be more masterful in terms of controlling what happens inside. So I wrote it down. It looks like this. So as usual, I write down on the left, I write down your initial comments. On the right, I write down the new comments about how things have changed. So you have an immediate comparison side by side. And then if we are going to work on this goal again, we will continue to work on it until we get back to our first page, which just has things written on the left. And then at the end, we will fill out the space on the right, and you will have immediate comparison about how you have changed your behavior in general and also while you're driving.
Okay. That sounds awesome.
All right. So are we clear? I always like to check whether we are clear because muscle response can sometimes go off because of emotional charge or some other things. So are we clear? So we are clear. So therefore we go back to yes or no. Let's have a yes and a no. This system is balanced for this brain function of reward pathways. Does the system need more balancing for the goal? Yes. Can we suspend this now? Yes. So we still need to do some more work on this goal. We put it on hold. So how do you feel now compared to how you felt in the beginning of our session today?
Better.
Can you define in what way? Because that's usually what I ask people to do. One of the parts of my work with people is to help people like you identify your feelings and physical states and mental states more precisely. So saying things like I feel good or I feel better, it's a general description. So I usually ask people to make it more specific. So in what way would you describe you felt better compared to the beginning today?
I feel more confident.
Okay, great. Okay, so then we will see, since we will need to work again on this goal, we will see what kind of changes happened since then, and then we'll see what else needs to be done.
Perfect.
Great.
Perfect.
Questions or comments about what we've done today?
No, I really enjoyed it. Like this, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I
Okay.
really like what you did. Yeah, I like it. And it was much more noticeable this time around than it was the first two times. Like it felt different this time around. Like it was much more noticeable.
Great.
And that could have just been me, right? Like,
well, it depends, it really depends. Like, it looks like this made people respond differently at different times. So
yeah,
this made a big difference. And that's wonderful, because I'm always happy to hear when people feel a difference. So that you feel more confident and you feel that it's a more noticeable difference. That's really great.
yeah, for sure.